Hello, hello, my favourite Hilly Jepson. How are you, my lovely?
I'm good, Maddie Cook. How are you?
Thanks for the full name. Yeah, I'm grand. I'm very good. Did you know this is our now sixth series? People might not know that because we don't really talk about series or seasons, but
Yes.
it's what the calendar says. It's season 6, which is super cool.
Season 6, episode 1. It is. It's good. We've got to
Yeah.
be in like the 40s now, haven't we? I think we're in like,
Yes.
I don't know, somewhere in the 40s of episodes, which means we're not far off a year.
Stephen Bartlett, who are you, son? Sit down.
Jog on, Stephen.
Jog on, Mel Robbins. We're listening to
We're
Coffee and
coming
Smudge.
for you.
I love Mel. But anyway, and obviously, thanks to you, thanks to Lily, as always, who produces this, and to our very beloved listener, because if you guys weren't showing up and listening and getting in our DMs and telling us what you think about it, then we wouldn't, we'd have now to talk
We
about and now
would
to
we
make
would have
for.
these conversations, we just wouldn't record them.
Yeah, we'd be back in the voice notes. But no, it's amazing. I'm very proud of us and just grateful,
Yes.
obviously, for the whole shenanigan. So
Yeah.
I
Well
am
done for two
seeing
ADHD ladies being consistent.
I
Really.
know it's a bit. Honestly, I am very
What a
proud.
miracle. It's a
It's a
miracle.
big deal. Well done, us. That's the end of the podcast.
That's that for today. We're just going to cheer us on and then we're done.
See you next week. No, so I do have a topic, and it's something that, as always, I always look at like little patterns, what I'm seeing in the groups and stuff, and I'm seeing a lot at the moment. People wanting to chuck in the proverbial bleach-stained towel. Haley, they are absolutely sick of the business. They're thinking about setting the whole thing on fire, or they're thinking about selling the business, or they're thinking about downsizing. Maybe if they're at a pivotal time where the lease is coming up, or they've got a chance to do that. Do I go and work from home? Do I go and work mobile, rent a chair? People are spending their Sunday nights, instead of scrolling, they're on Tesco jobs looking for, can I just
the classic
shelves?
Tesco. Why is it always Tesco?
It's always Tesco, isn't it?
I used to picture myself just sitting on a till, scanning.
Just when self-checkout came out, I was like, this is mint. Until the bag and area thing.
Yeah, but that's funny because I won't self-scan. Like, I hate it.
Really not?
No, I can't stand it. No, I hate it because it always goes wrong. But I used to think that sounded like a good job, so maybe it's not something I would enjoy. Yeah, that's really worth thinking about.
We'll do a whole episode on what was our dream fantasy job.
You've ruined my escape plan from hairdressing there in one fell swoop, Maddie.
Sorry. Are you seeing this? Do you agree? Are you seeing this showing up? What's going on for you, your clients?
I see this a lot, actually. I think this is something I hear a lot because obviously I coach burnt out hairdressers, and I think really when you're getting pretty far into burnout, a really common thing that hairdressers start thinking is, do I even want to do this anymore? I don't love it. It's too hard. I hear people just say it feels like it's getting too hard. And so for me, I really think that when you're thinking about throwing the towel in, this is definitely connected to burnout. I mean, obviously in some scenarios it could be something else, but I think quite commonly, people are just thinking about being burnt out. And for sure, and what I always say to people when they say stuff like this to me is, when we get all dramatic and we're like, I just want it all to stop. And I say to people, like, if you're saying you don't love your business anymore, let's try and get specific on why you don't love it. And so when I'm coaching people, I'll make them sort of come up with a list of things that are getting on their nerves. And so start getting practical instead of being all in your head where you've just decided quitting is the only answer, and I start encouraging people to get specific on all the things that they don't like about their business and start figuring out, are these solvable things, or are we just, knackered and overwhelmed? Because I think that you want to start pressing the escape button, don't you? When you feel really overwhelmed, you start looking for quick solves, and shutting your business down can feel like it's really quick. But I don't know. What do you think, Maddie? Have you ever felt like this? Have you ever felt like you just want to shut your business down?
I can't believe that you're saying that us hairdressers could ever be dramatic. How dare you? As if we're not like
the horror.
I know, the horror. Yeah, like I've totally felt like this. Like I felt like this a bunch of different times when I had the salon and behind the chair. So those times off the top of my head were when there was either just like drama on. I've had drama with, I had partnership drama, I had landlord drama because I hadn't met you before I got into leadership and managing people. I wish. Like I struggled with that. That was a skill set
really
that I
hard.
didn't really have. Just over basically like a feeling of over responsibility, being stretched too thin. And this was back in my very much people pleaser era of saying yes to everything when, I absolutely should have been saying no. That's what it felt like for me.
Me too. I mean, I've definitely had the Tesco fantasy, and the feeling like shutting my business down just makes it stop straight away. And I think it's similar. I think maybe the first thing might be I'm going to shut my books. I'm going to close my books, and then when that's not solved your problems, then we get into the I'm going to close it down. But I think they're both very similar in that way of we want something to stop. We need something to stop and it feels too hard to deal with it. And I think the thing is that I definitely think this is a sign of burnout. But I suspect it's to do with not having the right not having any or not having the right boundaries in place. And so you feel like putting one big fat one in, like shutting it down is how to solve your problems. Yeah. I think often, and I know when I was a therapist, I noticed this a lot, that people would come and tell me stories and problems and scenarios they were thinking about. And often what they were doing was they'd created a very elaborate plan. So let's say closing down your salon or getting rid of your business, instead of having one difficult conversation. They were kind of going, I'm going to go around all these houses to try and solve a problem. And what they were avoiding was usually a difficult conversation with someone. And so I think that commonly I discover when hairdressers say this sort of thing, they're struggling to put the boundaries in. They feel like they can't. They feel like they can't do something different. They'll be uproar. But they feel like if they shut it down, they won't have to have those conversations and they can just do something else. And so I really think, to summarise, it can often be around avoiding something that feels awkward or hard. Yeah. And I think coupled with being overwhelmed, having difficult conversations can just feel impossible. And so you just think, I'm just going to shut it down, turn my Instagram off and go to bed.
That makes a lot of sense.
Go away.
It's like when you watch the, do you know the documentary about the Panama canoe guy who just was like, I'm off, life insurance claim. You're a bit like, that's an idea.
Yeah,
fake my death and move to Panama.
Death. I mean, I've thought about moving country sometimes.
Yeah.
To just sort of get out of whatever's happening in my life. And I think sometimes it just feels easier to escape than to deal with it. And I think when you've got yourself to a point where you're so exhausted by saying yes when you were meant to say no, people pleasing, squeezing people in, not charging appropriately, working on your day off, all the common things, you chip away at your energy and then you haven't got any energy for really a difficult conversation. Because you went the other route of I'm going to do my way out of this and I'm going to work harder and all of that. You just end up with no energy for something that if you'd addressed it at the beginning probably wouldn't have been quite as exhausting.
Yeah.
But we're complicated as people. Yeah, we're complicated. We will do anything to avoid awkward conversations, I find.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we keep doing that sort of thing, our energy starts to disappear, I think.
Yeah. Then we're making drastic decisions. How I see it more in my kind of current business, and I know sometimes I'll just message you and I'll just be like, Hayley, is more when things get too easy, or I perceive it as like some people might call it boring, but I'd say that you're not feeling challenged. Like it's, for me, I love momentum. I love having things to think about, and obviously a big thing I love about how I work now is that you can make it really lean and streamlined and automated and all of this, but then I find a pattern of, okay, now I've done all of that, now it's gotten easier, I'm just going to get rid of this thing,
How can I make this harder?
Yeah, like how can I make it harder? Or how can I just get rid of this thing that actually works so well? Because I'm like, if I get rid of it, then it forces me that I have to start a different thing, and that starts the cycle again. Do you see that as well?
Yeah. And I mean, I think, like we've talked about that, just in our normal life now, we talk about that sort of thing, don't we, a lot? And I see that with a lot of sort of coaches and educators. Sometimes we make the business so slick that then we're like, what am I going to do now? I sort of miss the chaos. But I think behind the chair and hairdressers and salon owners and all of that, I think sometimes we get bored. And I think sometimes when we get very good at what we're doing and all our systems are working well, we miss the sort of chaos and the challenge and the fighting for things and the struggle. That's the word I want. The struggle. Oh, as your therapist ever said this to you, Maddie, like if you get rid of the struggle, what have you got? And we talk about that in the therapy world so often. When we solve a lot of our problems and the struggle goes, often people feel bored. And then they start thinking, how can I get some drama? And so I think sometimes you need a new challenge. That's what you need. You need a new challenge, or maybe a slight change in direction, or a pivot, or, learn something new. But we're so bored that we start creating a bit of chaos. And so I think sometimes we think we fell out of love with our business because we're just bored. And it's not, it's because it's going too well.
Yeah.
And we've sat in it for too long in that comfort zone. And we've not figured out that constant challenge really is, people do thrive with a certain level of that.
Yeah.
You can't sit in your comfort zone for too long. Sense. It's boring.
It does get boring, And I think, like, as creative people, as entrepreneurs, like, we're used to problem solving, we're used to challenges and overcoming things. And, a lot of us are neurodiverse, so we love a bit of, like, in the chaos dopamine.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that, you either try and create it, or you go, do you know what will give me the most dopamine? Sacking off my entire business and being forced to, like, start a whole new thing. No, that makes sense.
I think it's really interesting, and I think we do it a lot though, and I think we do other stuff sometimes that's pointless, like, I'm going to redo my website, I'm going to get a new logo, and it's like we start doing this busy work that we think's going to entertain us and get the dopamine going and stuff like that. But I think I think a little bit of introspection when you're thinking about binning off your business is really smart, and having conversation with someone who's going to organise your thoughts and stuff like that,
Go get a Hayley. Please book a one-on-one with Hayley before you make any rash decisions. I think, and I don't know, I probably learned this in therapy. It sounds like a therapy thing, but, like, sometimes reflecting on, what are you trying to, like, run from by doing this, or what do you think you're running towards by doing this?
Yes.
And it kind of goes to what you're saying about, am I avoiding a difficult conversation, or am I because to your thing about, like, the branding, I call that, like, procrastinating or procrastinating, where you're like, I'll just do another course, or I'll just redo my website.
Course. I'm on Canva, faffing around with logos. I'm choosing new brand colours.
Like, what are we avoiding, or where do we think that's going to take us? That's quite a good little reflective question, I think.
My therapist used to say to me a lot, if you weren't worrying about this, what would you be doing? And I was like, that's a good one, isn't it? If I wasn't having this drama over here, what would I actually be doing with my life? And I used to be like, God. And sometimes I was avoiding just moving forward, but I think it's so interesting, isn't it? But I think it's such a common scenario that hairdressers fall in and out of love with their business due to being bored, and also to do with overwhelm. I think those are the two things that prompt I want to bin it off and go to Tesco thought process. Yeah, for sense. Sure.
When do you think, because I don't just want to, like, blanket statement be like, you should never get rid of your business or make any big changes. Like, when do you think would be the right time? We had a response as well from, I put a Q&A on a while ago asking for, like, topics and things for us to talk about, and Jess said, she said, when's the right time to drop services? And I thought, actually, that's something to consider, is, do you just need to rejig the services that you offer, or like a smaller part of your business, rather than chucking the baby out with the bathwater? I see this loads with pricing. People want to get
Yeah.
rid of the business when actually, if they just got their prices right,
Yeah,
they
they
would
wouldn't
have a
feel so
much better,
resentful,
yeah,
overwhelmed,
yeah,
fed up.
yeah,
Yeah,
better quality of
resentful of
life,
all of
income.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. I mean, I think it comes back to the thing I was really saying at the beginning, which is you've got to get really clear on what it is you're unhappy with in the business, or you are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's exactly that. That's exactly the right statement for it. And so I think if you're sat listening to this thinking, I feel seen, I'd encourage you to, write a list of what feels too hard and too much and what's making you feel resentful and fed up and stuff like that. And then really reflect on that and think, are these things that are solvable? And ask yourself, am I wanting to shut my business down because I'm avoiding a difficult conversation? Because I bet you are.
Yeah.
Because, whenever I'm being a bit dramatic or thinking about doing something, I think more often than not, I'm avoiding a difficult conversation. But I think, it's interesting, Maddie, like, what do you think about this? Like, when is the right, like, for some people, it is the right time to shut your business down. We both did it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sometimes
that's
it
it.
is,
Like,
isn't it?
I think, so, for me, it was a combination of, I was like physically, not forced to do it, but I ended up having surgery on my back when I was 31 or thereabouts. Which I was so lucky to get. I got surgery quite quickly, especially at that time, because a lot of people were waiting a long time. But the recovery was 12 weeks. Like, I wasn't allowed to drive for 6 weeks, and I drove to work to do hair. And I am so, so grateful. Like, literally every day I'm so grateful that I had Bossy Salon, like I had the coaching company and, income from that. So I could make that decision from that was a really logical decision of like, okay, this is our like household situation, this is our income. We've got income from this place. This is what it requires to get that. I'm going to not physically be able to do hair for 12 weeks, which is the whole timeline of my clients. So it just made loads of sense. It was never like oh my God, I'm just going to chuck this out with no safety net. Like, it was such a like considered, like, practical decision. And I think you really have to take that into account. Like, it stresses me out a bit when I see people, and I see them doing this on both sides, both in descaling the business and scaling as in like buying a salon or, growing very, very quickly. When people just say, trust your gut, just do it, like jump in, it'll appear. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. I think we should be really like pragmatic and really practical and and exactly as you say, like,
reflective, isn't it?
really reflective. Yeah, like the people I think should sell a business, for example, are the people who've spent the 2 years previous getting the business in a really saleable position. Like, so the decision is a business decision. It's like, you'll have probably worked with someone, maybe a coach or a consultant, to get it in a really saleable position. Your accountant's in on the plan. Everything's like systematized, and it's part of your bigger strategy, like financial or retirement strategy. Because I think people chuck away like half decent businesses, or just literally close the whole thing down, don't sell it, because they just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like the knee-jerk reaction.
It's the knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? Exactly that, that's where the red flags are for me. And I've done it myself, where I'm just like, I'm just going to do this.
I'm writing an email.
Whatever it is. I'm just, it's all the things and it's when you need something to stop quickly, that's when the red flags are going up. And I just think it's all about introspection. And I think for some people, shutting down their business or not being hairdressers anymore are really valid and sensible decisions. But just make sure that you have reflected on this with someone and you're not knee-jerking it. Because if you knee-jerk it, the problem won't go away.
No, you're potentially going to
come back in a new form.
Yeah. Your new problem will be, how do I pay my mortgage next month, which is a very big problem. So thinking about like, what do I want? What happens 3 months from now if I make this decision today? What happens 6 months from now? That gives me a very good segue, because I think well, one, I think people in this position should always speak to you. That would be my first port of call, is talk to Hayley if you're feeling like this.
Yeah, I really enjoy conversations like this,
Yeah.
actually. It's one of my favourite things, is talking to people who are in this sort of state. I know it's a hard state to be in, but it's such an interesting conversation to have when you're forced to look at what's really going on. Yeah. I like conversations like that.
And I know sometimes you talk to people and then you'll signpost them to me too, because it's a numbers thing, but predominantly we need to fix or look at the mindset, the overwhelm, the boundary stuff. How can people work with you to do that at the moment?
Well, my one-to-ones are always open. My diary's always open 3 days a week. You can book in with me. But however, this might be a good segue into a shameless plug, Maddie, because my course, Burnout and Boundaries, is up for sale. I think it's now, tomorrow, depends when you're listening to this, but go take a look at the link. We'll put a link in the show notes, and it'll either say it's open or it's a wait list, depending on when you're listening to this. But if you listen to this when this episode is out, Burnout and Boundaries is up for sale. And this is my signature course, really. And it's all about, the thing is, for me, what I think, when you're thinking things like being really burnt out and, you know, wanting to shut things down and run away and all of that, you've really got to work on your energy first. You've got to work, because that's what I was saying. The reason you want to run away is you've not got enough energy to sort it out. And so for me, I'm a big believer in, you've got to get your energy back first, so that then you can start making some better decisions, like doing your calculator, getting your pricing right, having some difficult conversations. But if you've not got the energy to do that, you will always keep fantasizing about running away. And so I'm really interested in getting your energy back first. And that's why I think Burnout and Boundaries is different, because it's not just like do this, do this, do this, because that's no use saying that to exhausted people, because they haven't got the energy to do it. What's the point?
You like clear the space.
Yeah, I feel I'm like the foundation layer. Like, you've got to do all this first. And then there's loads of people who've got brilliant strategies for you. But if you're knackered, you can't do it. It's just pointless. It's like buying courses and not doing them, you know. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Burnout and Boundaries is it's a great course.
It is. It's fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
If you're looking at Indeed, wanting to go to Tesco, it's definitely a really worth a shot.
Maybe you need to do some Google pay-per-click and start competing with Tesco jobs, so yours comes up at the top of Google.
Yeah, I should get
an app. Quite an expensive pay-per-click.
Are you a hairdresser? Looking on here for jobs. I've got a suggestion for you. That's a really good idea, Maddie.
Lush. Well, it's time for hyperfocus then. Let's do this.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, I want to know yours.
Well, I'm in the process of selling my house, buying a house. I thought, I've not got enough stress in my life. Yes. I must have been bored.
Do you want to listen to this episode?
Let's get some chaos. Yeah, I should really think about this. Let's get some chaos. I think I'm going to move house. And so really my obsession at the minute is Rightmove.
My God,
diving Rightmove constantly.
Yeah.
Like every morning, it's the first thing I look at. In the day, if I'm procrastinating, I look on Rightmove. Before I go to bed, I'm like, I want to make sure I don't miss a house coming up in the area I want to go to.
Yeah.
And constantly checking how much other houses where I live are going for. What's my competition? Oh, it's crackers. I mean, praise be, maybe by the time this comes out, I'll have sold up. But that'd be lovely. But yeah, I'm in the Rightmove obsession. I mean, I've got friends, Maddie, who are obsessed with Rightmove and they've got no intention of moving.
I have, like, I look at Rightmove. Well, actually, I look at my sort of obsession off the back of yours. There's two, like, American versions. So one's called Zillow and there's one called Trulia. And I like to look at those with no top limit. Because honestly, Hayley, it's like... My God, I saw one and it was like Malibu. It's like the Barbie freaking dream house. It was like 20 bedrooms, 20 bathrooms, pool. Funny. I've seen one for $300,000 a month, and I was like, "Who is renting a house if you can afford $300K a month? Why would you rent? It's insane." So I just love
to say with that.
I know.
Oh, that's crackers. I mean, I'm obsessed with selling Sunset, but I'm not hyper focused on it at the minute because I've watched everything. But they're those sort of houses.
They are total. Someone's going to rock up in a pair of 8-inch heels and nothing much else, start selling you the house.
Yeah,
like, that's the vibe.
yeah.
But I just love to see what's on and swipe around, like, do a little walkthrough tour.
God, all of that. But it's really interesting, though. I've been really thinking recently that my experience of estate agents has not been like selling Sunset, and I've been a bit disappointed.
The bar is too high, isn't it? Like, why are you not stunning?
Looking at, I look at houses and think this has not been staged unless it is a crime scene. I don't know what's happening here, but I've seen a lot of crime scene bathrooms. Yeah, and I just think I've watched too many programs like Selling Sunset, $1 Million Listing, and it's really tarnished my experience of shopping around Manchester for a house.
Yeah, when you realise that you can't get like a walk-in wardrobe, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, within the budget, it's quite disappointing, I think.
Yeah, in the bedrooms you can't even get a wardrobe and a bed in the same room. So it's been really interesting. I'm like, where's my glass balcony?
Yeah.
And the glass staircases and
the lift,
the marble tops in the kitchen. Where are
they're always obsessed
with
where the wood came from, aren't they? They go, they can't just go to the dining table. They're like, this was carved by, it's like on Friends, my dress was made by blind nuns. Like,
and it's like, this is Venetian plaster.
Yeah, it can't just be
plaster, they like that a lot.
Tiles.
And this quartz is from wherever, and you're just like, what is happening?
Isn't it?
Mine's from B&Q.
Mine's from IKEA. Mine's from Sweden.
This is from IKEA. Yes, it's from the valleys in Sweden, made by factory workers somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. The right move obsession is heavy and disappointing due to Selling Sunset.
Oh, that's disappointing.
But I think I might start going over to yours now. What's it called? Zillow.
Yeah. Zillow. It's like the equivalent of Right Move.
Yeah.
I literally have the app. Like, I just look all the time. In like random places that I've literally never been. I was looking at houses in Austin, Texas. I was like, Austin looks nice.
Yeah, it does look nice.
Because I like to see what the gen is. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like that's the best procrastination tool I've ever heard, Maddie, I think.
So good. Just get notifications.
It's got the fantasy element as well.
Yeah, we love it. Mine is so niche and specific and almost pointless to tell you because most of our listeners will not be able to access this. But when I was away, so I go to the States like fairly often, I, like a true millennial, I go onto TikTok and I go, what should I get from this particular place? And I let the young people of today dictate my decisions. And I'd heard loads about Trader Joe's, right? I'd never been before. It's a supermarket in the States. We'd gone to like Whole Foods or Walmart, whatever. And I go on TikTok and I wrote what to buy at Trader Joe's or Trader Joe's haul. And everyone talked about this one particular thing. And do you know, you've been to New York, when you get bagels in New York and you can get like an everything bagel, which is like all covered in seeds. It's like sesame seeds, onion, garlic, salt, pepper. Like, it's like covered in little tiny seeds. That's what they would call an everything bagel. It's really good.
They don't put raisins on it as well.
No, they don't like mess the whole thing up with raisins. But there's a brand at Trader Joe's called Everything But the Bagel, and they do a jar of seasoning, and it's basically like all of that. So I bought one to try it, and then subsequently bought 6 more, which I've got now at home in England, and I'm like obsessed with, like, every time I go I'm gonna have to bring them back. And on scrambled eggs, Hayley, it's like the most beautiful thing.
Really? Sounds fascinating.
It's really tasty.
Have they got a Trader Joe's in Vegas?
Yes, I've already looked this up. It's about a 20 minute. Where
this is going.
I know, it's about a 20-minute drive.
In Vegas. We went to Trader Joe's.
Got a $40 Uber to Trader Joe's to get some salt.
We went to supermarkets and chemists.
It's my fave. It's my absolute fave. I love going to Walmart. And then I saw that someone on. You've never been to Walmart?
No, because New York's where I used to go in
Oh
America
yeah,
a
they
lot.
don't. Yeah, they're not
They,
really in
they're not
Manhattan.
really got a Walmart. Yeah.
You can buy guns in Walmart. That's exciting, and
Oh, that's so exciting.
melatonin and other interesting things in the pharmacy bit.
Difficulties bringing it back, though. That's the main issue there, isn't it?
Definitely the guns part, but you can
Not a
bring
big fan of guns
salt
in the airport.
No. And then I saw a TikTok video of, this is absolutely ridiculous. Someone poured an entire jar out, by hand separated every single thing into different piles to calculate the ratio of each of the different components to basically say this is how you can make it. So they're like, it's
I wonder
10
what they were
grams of this.
avoiding doing in their
My
life.
God.
Maddie. Like,
But
what
they're
were
out
they
here doing the Lord's work, though. You know, because now I could make my own.
What essay were they procrastinating on when they decided to do that?
But honestly, it's the hype. I got totally influenced, but it was so worth it. And there's a whole other bunch of things I got based on what people on TikTok told me to buy, and it was all mint. So thank you, you young people of TikTok. I appreciate you.
You made shopping so much better.
Yeah, it's so
well,
good.
I feel like we're going to need to go to Trader Joe's then when we're in Vegas.
I think we could earmark a little afternoon. 20 minutes.
Maybe. In a taxi.
That's doable, yeah.
That's all right, isn't it? Maybe. Yeah.
I'll hire a car man to go to Trader Joe's.
See where it is.
Like, oh, did you do Grand Canyon? Did you do like helicopter? No, we bought some posh.
Did you go to the Sphere? No, we got the everything bagel stuff and some teeth whitening strips.
Usual. So funny. We'll have to keep people updated. I know, I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for another thriller.
It's all been good. This has been good, Maddie.
Yeah. I'll catch you next week.
I'll see you next week, madam.
All right, see you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Please support those who support us and check out Timely, who we recommend is our favourite booking system for you. New customers can get 50% off their first 3 months with the code COFFEE50.